Hi guys, thanks for tuning into this week's video. My name's Ruth, and if you are new to my channel, it's great to have you here. And if you want to subscribe, you can do that below and press the little bell, and then you'll know every week when I post a new video. So this week I want to talk to you about love and how do we know if we're in love and if it's true love, or whether it really is just a sense that we're being drawn to something that's familiar to us. So this is a topic that I think is really interesting, particularly in romantic relationships, but also in friendships and the kind of people that we draw into our lives, and really being able to discern whether we are creating healthy relationships, whether we're creating relationships that are really going to feed us and give us what we want, or whether we're being drawn to people subconsciously. Often we don't even know we're doing it, but we're just pulled and magnetized to people that are often familiar to us. So to talk a little bit more into that, the familiarity is often the fact that, you know, when we grow up and we're children, we have these primary caregivers, whether that's our mum and dad or other figures in our life, and they can often be brilliant people who fulfilled a lot of our needs, but they can also be people that might have really wounded us, and not necessarily like physically, but emotionally, and we might have some deep issues with those people. And it can be that when we start to grow up and we form our own relationships and we're out in the world, that we can be pulled towards people and we don't know why. So just to give an example, I'm sure we've all been there, where you may meet someone, whether that's a friendship or it's a romantic connection or a sexual connection, and you just feel drawn to that person. You feel like you've known them your whole life, you feel so comfortable around them, and you often feel like that is the sign that this must mean that you're in love with them. This must mean that there's something special about them and this connection that you've got together. Whereas often what can actually be happening in those situations is that we're being drawn to them because they're very familiar to us. So however they're behaving around us and towards us, and their mannerisms and their personality can be very similar to somebody in the past that we have got unfinished business with. And so this is what we call, and I've got it written down here, which is quite interesting, repetition compulsion. So this idea that we are drawn to the same sorts of people over and over and over again. And this can often be a symptom that we're trying to heal something from our past. And as I say, all of these sort of elements are often going on in our subconscious. We don't even know all of these things are at play. And they are often the reason why we are drawn to people who can often not be very nice to us, or can ignore us, or kind of mistreat us, but yet we're still drawn to them and we still want to be around them and be pulled towards them. Whereas on the flip side, we can meet some people who are so nice to us and really want to spend time with us and are very interested in us, but yet we feel like, I don't really like them. I don't know, they're nice, but I just don't feel like they're my kind of person, because whatever they're behaving like and treating us like can feel unfamiliar to us. So it's not necessarily that we don't have a connection with them, it's just that the way that they're treating us is not something that we're familiar with from the past. And I think that it can be really helpful to notice these patterns. Like, I notice these patterns in myself. So I know that I am often drawn to people who remind me of my dad. And this is typical sort of like, you know, want to go into like therapy, like daddy issues. And I'm often drawn to people where I now know through self-reflection and journaling and taking a pause and becoming aware of my own patterns that that's really to do with unfinished business and wounds that I'm trying to heal from that childhood relationship that I had with that parent figure. And so what I really want to do is I want to get this person that reminds me of him to really kind of like recreate that relationship. And then I'm hoping in my subconscious that if I do that, then I can get those needs met that I didn't get met in that primary relationship, and that I can be seen and I can be heard and I can be understood. And then through this new person, I'm going to heal those old wounds. And it's really interesting to notice these things in yourself. So it could be, like I say, with a father figure, it could be in romantic relationships that you notice that over and over and over again, you're drawn to the same kind of person and the same sort of patterns play out, and it's the same end to it every time. So it can be really interesting to just become aware of this pattern that's going on. And it can be a really nice thing to have some sort of like self-reflection practice where maybe you just journal down like, what are the patterns and what kind of people am I being drawn to over and over again? And that could be in a friendship. So maybe, for example, in friendships, you might be drawn to somebody that takes advantage of you a lot, expects a lot of you, doesn't give you things back in return. That may be you trying to kind of recapture and heal wounds from another relationship from childhood. So it's at play in all of our relationships. And I think that it's interesting for you to notice, what is it that keeps on repeating? And then having that practice of being like, okay, I know that this is my pattern, this is my thing, this is what I do. And then be like really curious and either work with a therapist or journal yourself and just get really curious about what's the pattern that you keep repeating and what are the qualities of these people or the type of person that you're drawing in, and really just to acknowledge that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy to stop doing it, because we are drawn to what's familiar, but asking yourself, is it a healthy pattern? Do you want to create a new pattern? Because new patterns are possible. They're not always simple, but the first step is to acknowledge those deep ingrained patterns that we have and the kind of people that we're drawn to, and why are we drawn to those people, and what are we trying to gain from those relationships. And if it keeps ending badly and you keep on repeating and repeating it and it's not working, then having that self-awareness and that practice of really looking within and looking at the harsh truth of it can help you to break free from that cycle and really start to look at how you can create new patterns, which may feel very uncomfortable to start off with, and it may be difficult to break that habit, a bit like stopping smoking or quitting sugar. You know, it's not always simple, but you can replace those patterns, those familiar patterns, with healthier, more nourishing patterns. So I'm really interested to know what you think of this topic and like how you find it. So what are your common relationship issues, and do you feel like you are aware of them, or are you often creating some pretty strong cycles and habits that just keep coming back and keep coming back into your life? So let me know in the comments below. This has been quite a short video, but it's just something that I was talking with a friend about recently. I touched on it in my video with Sandra, the relationship expert. I'll post a link to that YouTube video below. So let me know your thoughts on this. It's going very dark here now, so I'm going to cut the video short and just say thank you for tuning in, and I will be back next week with another video for you guys. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Bye.